All right. We're a little bit early, but hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Lim. I am a technology integration specialist from Portland Public Schools, and this is our first GEG Oregon meeting, Google Educators Group. And I'm going to let Katie introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Katie Tibbs. I am the Instructional Technology Specialist for the Multnomah ESD.
So I am the, leader for GEG Oregon. I took it over from someone else and then never did anything. And I put out that survey, I don't know, months ago. And then Katie had expressed interest in being one of the co-facilitators. And I was like, awesome. Would you do this? And luckily, Katie said yes. But we have a Slido poll up on the screen for you. And I saw that 3 people were waiting for the meeting to start. So if you would like to go to slido.com and enter the code GEG Oregon 309, you can fill out the poll and enter an emoji that describes your current state of mind before we get started with the agenda. Maybe we were joking that there's going to be 3 emojis on the screen of the 3 people that were waiting for the meeting, and maybe I'll fill it out too.
I will too. We'll have so many.
So you could enter a word or an emoji. So I think that's probably everybody that's watching the meeting. So this is our first meeting, and I know I had originally scheduled it with an hour and a half time, but that was just to be on the safe side. I had no idea what to expect. I was telling Katie, who knows how many people will show up. We have a lot of people, I think almost 400 people that are in our group. But we typically, since this group was started, have never really had any kind of monthly meetings. I think there had been maybe 1 or 2 events, and this was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. So it might take a while to build a community where we get used to having monthly meetings and stuff like that. So just know that this is the first one. We'll continue to do them. And hopefully more people will join, and you'll tell people to join. So I'm going to go ahead and stop our poll now. Thanks. It looks like everyone's doing pretty okay, which is good. It's almost spring break time, so hopefully people will get a short break in there. And I'm just going to go ahead and share this screen next. This is the new GEG Oregon website. And you can get to it by typing in that shortened link, bit.ly/GEG Oregon. And as long as you have that bookmarked, you'll be able to get to the agenda and any other information that we have to share with you. And if you were to go to the events tab up at the top right, you can subscribe to the GEG Oregon calendar, where all of the GEG meetings, because those are the only things that we have right now, are on the agenda. And then if you just scroll down, you should see the shared notes there, and everybody has access to edit those notes and add things to the agenda if you want. Katie and I also talked about recording the meeting, and just because it's sort of this informal thing and we're trying to build up our community, probably won't be recording these, especially since you also have the shared meeting notes that have everything in there with everything linked. All right. So let's look at the agenda now. Let me close some of these tabs. At the top of the agenda, you'll notice that there are some of those same links I just talked about, links to add the regular monthly meeting to your Google Calendar. But then there's also a link to the website, which I just showed you. And then there's also a sign-in form. So if you need a certificate of attendance, feel free to fill out that really brief sign-in form, and then you'll get sent via email a certificate. Under welcome and introductions, you'll see links for contact information for Katie and me. There are then directions for how to join the GEG Oregon Google group if you aren't a member of the Google group. So if you follow these directions, you can either go to groups.google.com and you'll see the GEG Oregon group under your My Groups section, and you can view everything from there. Otherwise, you can subscribe to the group and then you get the email that will that'll send out the notes to you and stuff. So whenever I send out a message, you'll get it either via email or you can just go to the Google group to see it. If you have questions or comments during this time, feel free to type in the YouTube chat because we are seeing those comments. And if you would like to go ahead and put your name and where you're from so that we know who our 3 viewers are, that would be great. Some upcoming events. So right now we're in the midst of this Teach with Chrome series, which is a free webinar series that's from Google during March. It started in February, and I've gone to a couple of them, and they're just 30-minute sessions. You do have to register, and then they'll send you emails with the link to join and all of that kind of thing. I've learned a lot of stuff about Chrome, and some of the things I'm sharing in just a little bit. Hi, Jody. Hi, Kevin. And Colleen. It's good to see you 3. It's all people that I think we both know. Oh, and Reiko. Hi, Reiko. Reiko is actually, this is so funny, this story. Reiko is a Google innovator, and she's in Tokyo, but she used to teach at Richmond Elementary School in Portland. And so she emailed me that she was going to join. Hi, Tim. All right. So in this next section of the agenda, what's new in Google Workspace for Education? So these are things that have been curated from a different variety of sources. And I am not going to go through every single one of them because they're all linked there. So if you want to read about one of these items, just feel free to click on the link and read about it. But some of the things I think are worth mentioning, so I'll call them out specifically. Supporting, there's a new line of Chromebooks, so that's the first item on there. So a lot of these topics, sometimes they might be more technical than you're interested in too, but I know that there are people in our GEG group that maybe are more systems admin focused or have access to that, or maybe might be the Google admin for their district. But I'm not going to go over every single one of these because you can read it for yourself. The next thing, Gmail has a redesign, and that's rolling out currently. The thing I really do want to point out, though, is this item that says Unleash Collaboration with New Experiences in Google Workspace. So there are some cool things that are happening now in Google Workspace. And a lot of this has to do with the Smart Canvas and the Smart Chips that Google introduced last year, which you may have noticed. One thing that's cool is that there's now the page list format in Google Docs, which is totally fun. And you can see here, it also, there will be summaries. And a lot of times you won't be able to see these changes right away in your district instance of Google Workspace. So oftentimes I'll see these new features in my personal Google account first. I don't know. Have you seen the page list thing show up yet, Katie?
No, I have not.
Yet. So that's one fun thing that is has shown up now. And here is just a little GIF of page. So you don't have page constraints, page boundaries anymore with the page list format in Docs.
Do you know, Melissa, if that changes the view, like the mobile view at all?
I am not sure about that. And if anyone in the watching, if you know stuff that you know the answer to what we're talking about, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'm not sure about the mobile. The other thing that's nice is you can speed up your workflow now with interactive building blocks. So with the smart chips and the at menu. So you might have noticed, and I think this has come out in everyone's Google Workspace instances, but if you type the at symbol in a doc, you'll have all these options of things to add to your doc. So I can actually show that if I go to the agenda. And if I just type the at symbol. So you can see here, I have people that I can, and there's Kevin and Dawn. I can add meeting notes. I can add specific files. So I can instantly add these things to a Google Doc using the at menu that comes up. Let's see. So they've got some more examples here, a Maps smart chip, the people chips, which we just showed you when I demoed that by typing the at symbol. So that is the page list format. So some of those things are listed here. And then these, I'm going to click on this link that says new experiences in Google Workspace, because this just has some more details. And this is the Google Workspace updates blog. Some of you may already have this in an aggregator or something, but you can subscribe to this blog. And Google has a blog for they have a blog for almost every different department of Google. Like there's a Chrome blog, but you can subscribe to these and then you'll get the updates. And then also, I believe on this one of these, you can subscribe to the calendar and it'll put it on your Google Calendar so you can see when updates are happening and they show up on your calendar. But here, this is just some more information about the pageless format, some of the things we already talked about, some of the same features and stuff. But the thing that's in this particular blog post, like it tells you the rollout pace and stuff. So it gives you more details in terms of schedules and rapid release, scheduled release domains, and all of that kind of thing. So, and then here you can see these are some of the other blogs that I was mentioning, the Cloud blog, the Google Cloud blog, Workspace Cloud blog. So just other places where a lot of these resources that I get for this agenda have been curated from a lot of these different blogs. So I can tell you about the updates. All right. So I'm going to skip down now and go to show and tell. So I've listed some things here that I just wanted to make you aware of. And then Katie has also listed some things that she'll talk about. And then there's a space for community, and that's you all. if you have things that you want to share, feel free to link them or list them here. And then there's also a Q&A on the agenda here. So if you have questions that come up right now while we're talking about something, you could either post them in the YouTube chat or you can put them in the actual Google Doc. And if it's a question that requires an answer, Katie or I will type in an answer there, or we'll type it in the chat. So I'm going to go back up to my section just to show you the things that I want to talk about. So Cloud HQ, I don't know if any of you have these extensions installed, but it's a whole productivity suite of mainly Gmail productivity tools. So for instance, if you have them installed and if you click on that link, you'll see there are lots and lots of different Gmail extensions or productivity tools that you can install. And one that I can think of is sharing an email link. So if I have an email that I want everyone to see, I can click on a button that will create a link for that email. And then I can just paste that link into a Google Doc or a message so that everyone can see it. Another one that I use a lot is called, I don't recall it, it's where it adds a button to the bottom of my Gmail menu. And so when I'm creating newsletters, I can say insert button, and I just type the URL that the button will link to, and then it creates a nicely colored button with whatever text you want in the button in the body of the email. I read something about how people would rather click on buttons instead of links. And so that's why I use that insert button tool. So that's a lot of stuff to explore there. The next tool is Cursive, and I'm going to show this. And this is for Chromebook only, but if I click on it, it's going to go to the Cursive app. And this is one of the Chrome apps. Katie put another one down that she's going to share with you. And so here you can see I can start a new note, and I can actually use my finger and type a note or write a note on the canvas there. And I have a toolbar at the top here where I can change colors. I can use a highlighter. And when you first start this, it'll take you through a little tour because it does have some commands, like if I don't know if I'm doing it correctly. So if I scribble something that I've written, it actually will delete it. So it has some really cool features. And if all of your students are on Chromebooks, they all have access to this app by just going to cursive.apps.chrome. So that's a fun one. The other thing, let's see, I had a whole bunch of Chromebook keyboard shortcuts. And this one, actually, I'm going to move because it's in the wrong place on the agenda. I'm going to put it down here. And I don't know if I just learned this one. I'm going to skip Tab Maker for now. I'll come back to it. There is a special Chromebook clipboard menu. So if you hit the launcher key or the search key, so I'm on a Pixelbook, so it's just a launcher key. It doesn't have the little magnifying glass. And so if you hit that plus V, you can see, oops, let me refresh the screen. It showed up before when I was sharing my screen, so let's try it again. So if I go, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so if I hit launcher plus V, oh, it's not showing up. If you do it on your own device, you'll see a little shortcut menu pops up with the last 5 things if you have 5 things that you copied. So I only have 2 things that I copied, and so it's showing me a little shortcut menu that pops up that shows the last two things I copied. So then I can just select from that little shortcut menu and paste into another tab or something. So then there's just some more, a shortcuts guide that I've linked to here. And then another shortcut command is Control plus Shift plus question mark. That brings up some Chromebook tips for you. Tab Maker is pretty fun. It's where you can create your own custom tab extensions for Chrome, and you don't need to know any coding. So if you use that and create your own new tab extension, it resides on that device. So it's not going to be showing up on every device. If you go onto a new device and you did it on the one device that's in front of you, it's the new tab will only be on the one device where you have those files stored. But it's pretty fun, super easy. And then let me share some Chrome extensions with you. There are two tutorial creation extensions. One's called, I don't know if you pronounce it, IORAD, and then there's another one called Tango that Kevin actually shared with me. But you can create these step-by-step guides using screenshots or tutorials using those two extensions, and it's really easy to use. And then the other two extensions that I learned about, one's called WordTune and one's called WordTune Read. I haven't used the Read one too much, but they both use AI. And the WordTune one, it has a little purple W that shows up anywhere that you can use it. And it basically, if you highlight some text and click on WordTune, it will suggest a different way to write sentences or whatever the text is that you've highlighted. Trying to make your writing more clear. And then the last thing I wanted to share, in our district, when we were doing we had the lack of subs and there were a lot of sub plans going on. I just want to show you this sub plan exemplar that one of our teachers created at a middle school. Oops, let me open it full screen. And when our team saw this, we were floored because it was so obvious, yet no one was doing it. So we're like, this is genius. It's so brilliant. And so this is reading acceleration. And you can see here, she's got use this map to find your seat. So kids were sitting in different places, not the same seat every day. And so they had to look at this map to find where their seat was. And then the most brilliant part was she used video to address the class. And so she embedded a video in a Google Slides. Let's see if this will play. And not able to be with you guys today, but I wanted to go ahead and go through. Anyway, so she's like giving directions. And as you know, if you know, being a sub, that it's really hard when the sub is the one communicating. But when you have a video of your regular teacher giving directions, it feels a little more familiar. You feel like you should be maybe a little bit more accountable. So we thought that was brilliant when we saw that, because and we hadn't seen that before. And the coach from our team that subbed in this class, she was like, this made it so much easier. And so then you can see, she's got her agenda. She's got some other directions here about a Nearpod activity. And then she has a closing message because this was right around Thanksgiving. And so she wanted to say something to her class. So that was the exemplar that I wanted to share. And then there's a link there on the agenda for the same template she used, but you can just create your own here. If you click on that link, it'll make a copy of a template that you can use in your class. So those are my things to share. Katie?
Thank you. I just want to say that subplan exemplar in February of 2020, it was the first time I just had this really complicated plan of a lesson that I didn't want to switch in the library. So I just screencast it and I ended up, it was like a half day sub. I ended up showing up midday and I was watching myself teach these kids as I was like just hanging out on the other side of the library. And I was like, why did I not think of this sooner? It was so much faster than trying to write those plans, so much easier for the person there. That is such a great example, though. I love the slides aspect of it. So I just had a couple of things that I wanted to share. And I saw, Colleen, you say that you were loving the Teach with Google series. And I have been trying to go to as many of those as I can. And a lot of the resources I pulled out are from just reminders that I've been reminded of going to those. That first one is the Canvas app that is on Chromebooks. And it is actually similar to the Cursive app. Same thing. They just type in canvas.app.chrome and it's on every student's Chromebook. The one piece that I really liked about it is it's not loading. There is a layers button where they can layer their art. So they can insert an image and then they can write on top of it or annotate it or draw on top of it. But then they can also turn on and off the separate layers of the piece of work and then save it as an image at the end so that they could submit that as an artifact or a piece of learning to the teacher at the end of a lesson. So I just feel like there's a lot of different kind of ways that students could use that. And yeah, there's different pens and colors and very similar to the Cursive app, but I just really like that layers piece that they can kind of show the different sections while they're working and do like sketchnoting or kind of annotate an image, which is really nice. The next thing I had is a Chrome extension, which is just the Wakelet extension. I'm sure you're all familiar with Wakelet just to curate resources. I have used Wakelet heavily and have a lot of different collections within Wakelet, but just recently realized that there was this extension, which makes it so much easier to save something. If you just click the W up in your browser, it will just automatically open up Wakelet and ask you which collection you want to add it to without having to kind of go through several extra clicks to get it there. Moat is also an older extension, but such a great ability to add voice comments and audio directly into emails, forms, Google Docs. You can do it as comments if you're commenting, just to kind of streamline that feedback, especially with students that might have a harder time giving written feedback or accepting written feedback, which is really great. And the last resource that I had on here seemed pertinent to this month. They are some resources from Google for Women's History Month. There is a Google Slides template linked there that it does do a forced copy. And then you can have your students create like their own kind of magazine cover with a different woman or kind of do like a little mini research project around that. There's actually, Melissa, like it's kind of funky the way they set this up. This is like the directions for it. And then there's another link. I think it's in the second slide. Which is, I think it's worth clicking on just because it's, it kind of gives templates and examples of other covers, like my example magazine covers that some Google educators have made. So you can kind of get a feel for what the project might look like from the student end. Maybe. And there's a couple of different pages there after it loads that you can see with different women from history that it lists as examples. And the other resource that I linked in the Google Doc, it goes to the Google Arts and Culture. They have a specific Women in Culture page where students could use as a resource to kind of collect information and data to create that project, which is also a really great resource. And they also have one for Black History Month.
Oh, cool. I always forget about Google Arts and Culture.
I know. I feel like it is an underused resource,
Yes.
and this just goes on, and it has women in different career fields from different racial backgrounds. Just so it's just a wealth of information, and it's curated really nicely and organized in a way that's really easy for students to navigate. Also,
Cool. And they usually have lessons, right?
yes. Yeah, those buttons kind of up there at the top, there's like that explore, play, kind of different features that for teachers to use as well.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Thanks, Katie.
Yeah.
So I see that no one in the community has typed anything they want to share or have any questions. So I'll just ask again right now, is there anything anyone would like to share? You can type in the YouTube comments or type on the doc. So it looks like that was exactly 30 minutes. So our meetings will probably be only 30 minutes long from now on. But if you want to leave feedback, just do it in the doc. Like if you'd rather these meetings start at 4 o'clock or maybe even 4:30 if it's easier for you to join then. Ooh, Jody put a tip in. You're loving the Chrome browser recently closed tabs. So if you accidentally close tabs, you can go to your settings and go to the history and say reopen recently closed tabs. That's always a good one. That reminded me, Jody, I love the Chrome group tab groups. And so if you look at my screen here, if I go up to this tab, I can say add tab to new group, and you can't see it because it doesn't show the menus. I think because I'm sharing my screen instead of my entire window. So that's why it's not showing up. I could try to, let's do share. Entire screen. There we go. So if I go up here, oops, and let me add that to the stream. There we go. So now up here, if I say add tab to new group, I can name this group GEG. And so now you can see I have a tab that's just GEG stuff, and then I can drag things into that tab group. And so now they're closed and opened. That's a good one. Oh, and what did Tim say? You can also right click in a blank space in the tab bar to reopen a closed tab. Aha. So I'm going to go to this blank space. Let's say I close this tab. Ooh, that's a good one. So I just tapped on the blank space and there's the menu that came up, the shortcut menu, and now I can reopen closed tab. Cool. That's a good one. The other tip I learned, this is reminding me of all these other tips. I think this was from the Teach with Chrome series, but if I hit my overview key, which is the key at the very top with the little square and the lines on a Chromebook, and it'll show you all your open windows. But if you look at the top now, they have something called desks on a Chromebook. So it's sort of like, I know on a MacBook, it also has that. So you can have different tabs open in different desks on a Chromebook. And so like if I have in this Google desk a bunch of windows and tabs, it doesn't affect any other desk. The only thing that's active is whatever desk you're in. So you could have 20 tabs in another desk and it won't affect the performance of your Chromebook. Just some other quick tips. Thanks, Tim and Jody. Anything else anyone wants to add? We really appreciate you being here. Fill out the form if you need a certificate. Leave feedback for us if you have some requests. But we'll do this monthly. It's the second Wednesday of the month. And right now it'll be at 3:30.
And tell your friends.
Tell your friends, yeah. I did see a notification come through that somebody is trying to join our GEG. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.